Grief is messy, and I'm no maid. This is Every Widow Thing.
Welcome back to another episode of Every Widow Thing. We're so glad you're here, and we hope that we can help you in some way. Keira, you had a thought earlier.
I was thinking about the purpose of the podcast and what we can offer people. And these two words kept coming in my head, resource and reprieve. Because I think we're a resource if unfortunately you're going through this. And it's also a reprieve because we laugh a lot and we try and find the humor in difficult things, and it carries us through and it gets us to the other side.
I feel like one of my coping skills is humor. I'm curious because I think I know the answer, but is that one of your coping skills, Keira?
100% for me. I mean, I like to joke. It's a coping mechanism for sure. After the accident, after our car accident, I was in the hospital for weeks, and I joked a lot with the staff. I was also on a lot of drugs. I mean, it was definitely a way to push aside difficult things that I wasn't ready to face. And
yeah, it's not always the best. It's a deflector, right? What about you, Holly?
Absolutely. I was joking in the funeral home.
Really?
Maybe I should save that for a later episode.
No, I would love to hear that joke now.
Toby was cremated, and I was asked which box I wanted to put him in and how much. And then I asked how much was the box. And I said, is there a cheaper box?
Because he doesn't care.
I was told there's a pine box for $100. And I said, I will take that one because Toby would not want me to spend money. Actually, my dad spent the money on it, but he would not have wanted to spend money on a box that was burned. So,
all right. I'm going to buy this box and burn it. Yeah.
We all, I had a room full of my dad, my sister, my brother-in-law, and lots of friends. And we all agreed Toby would not spend money on a box to burn.
Right.
So that's where it started.
Yeah. I love it.
I like that, Toby.
I know. All of our hubbies would have been such good friends.
I think they would have been. Very different, too, like us.
Yeah. So, Lacey, I mean, I feel your humor all the time. You say you're not funny, but I think you're hilarious.
I think mine's dark. I think it's weird, or I don't know, maybe. But you guys get it.
So I was about to say, we all have dark. Weird. I mean, I'm making such dark jokes.
I remember in the hospital when he was only there for a day, but he was in the hospital and in a coma, and only one of my friends was there. And recently, she and I got together because we were talking about this podcast. And I said, can you just finally tell me exactly what happened that day in the hospital room? And I remembered bits and pieces of it because it was so fast. It was less than 24 hours or less than 12, actually. And she said, I remember one thing you did that was just odd and funny, but so you. He was in the bed, obviously, a hospital bed, and he was in a coma. The priest was on the other side, who subsequently died 6 months later, which is really odd.
Oh, my gosh.
And we were very close, the priest and I, because he had kind of a sick sense of humor, too, which is why I really liked him. And so he was sitting on the opposite side. I was on the opposite side. We were kind of, and Oliver was in the middle. And I lifted up the sheet, and I said, God, he still has a nice ass, even though he's in a coma. And I think the nurses, the doctors collectively were like, something's wrong with this woman. Because the whole day I'd been hysterical and throwing up. And then all of a sudden that weird thing came out of me. And I don't know. And I remember my therapist telling me, I sound like I'm from LA for sure.
Therapy is very important.
It is very important. But I remember her telling me, if you can laugh in the dark times, I know you're going to be okay. And all of us, I've seen all of us laugh through the dark times. That's how I know we're going to be okay.
Yeah, that's so true. How long have you been a widow then?
11 years.
11 years.
And 3 months, but who's counting?
We're
We're celebrating our 10th year wedding anniversary in Vegas. He was on a tech trip. That's poignant. We were celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary. And he died before we could go on the trip.
That is so crazy.
Like days before.
When I
haven't been to Vegas since.
You haven't?
No.
Do you think you
That's
ever will?
I don't think I'm
Listen.
probably missing that
You're
much.
good.
No, you're
I'm
just
probably
missing
good.
an
You're good,
STD.
honey.
But I'm just glad. And
Although,
this is kind of sick, but I'm glad he at least died at home. What if he had been in Vegas?
Oh, I have
I
that
mean,
exact same thought
That's
about Hunter.
that's horrible.
Yeah.
Frank was on a business trip in New York the night before, and he arrived. He literally arrived home in Austin, got in bed with me. and
Okay, well,
then-
let's just stop
We
there.
don't have to talk about that
It's
right
not
now.
that kind of podcast.
Well, it is that kind of podcast, but we're not there
Damn
we'll
it.
yet.
save that for
Damn it.
another episode.
That's several episodes away. No, I mean seriously, I okay, that's something we'll come back to later because I have regretted the fact that we like really just fell asleep because we had to get up at 4:30.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy when we think about the amount of time that it's been since we saw them
Yeah.
or
I know.
heard their voice?
He's
And
been gone as long as I knew him.
That's
what
crazy. That
freaks
just
me
gave me
out.
chills.
Yeah, I don't like that
No.
at all.
I remember when Hunter died thinking he's been in my life longer than he was not in my life. So
Well, you guys were both 19.
yeah, we met
right?
at 19. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it was a gift. It was a blessing to have him there for so long versus you and Oliver only got 10 years.
But we
But
won't compare.
No,
That's
we
always
can't.
my thing.
That's right. We can't compare.
Yeah.
And the truth is, if we're going to
Grief is
compare,
grief.
then you go down another road of like, well, somebody only got 1 year or somebody or
I've just
someone
learned
never
that
got
grief is grief. And
Yeah,
it-
exactly.
and minimizing somebody's does not bring them back. It actually won't garner you friendship either. And it's all hard. They're,
Yeah, no
they're
one
not
wants
going
to
to come
be
back.
It doesn't matter how long
regardless.
you've known them.
Like I think each one of us has different challenges as a result of what happened.
Yeah.
But I don't sit around comparing it. That's not
And
something I do.
and you're so right. It doesn't matter. And Holly, you just said this too. It doesn't matter how long you were married or how long you had with them. If you
That's
only
right.
had one day with the love of your life and then they were gone, that doesn't mean the grief is any less or any more.
Nope.
It's like
It's just different.
it's just different, but
different.
it's still very, very intense. It's intense.
Yeah.
And even this is something that I didn't realize until my own husband died, because I had some friends that had, and you were probably this friend for a lot of people, Lacey. They lost their husband, and like 5 years in, people are like, okay, you're still celebrating his birthday. You're still talking about your anniversary. Like they don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
But the truth is, it doesn't matter how long it's been. Some days it feels like it was yesterday.
It's also the father of our children.
True.
Don't forget that.
I mean, some of mine
mean-
were from, no. They're all from him.
There's a lot of details about everybody's story I don't even know.
Yeah. And why do you think that is?
I think because when we get together, the last thing we want to focus on is the dark stuff.
But we do touch on it, but we don't
But
go
we don't
back
go to
that far.
details.
Right.
Well, when we get together, many times we get together, we just want to escape and have fun. But
Yeah.
it is nice to.
Take a break.
I don't know that you and I, Keira, ever went through every gory detail. I don't think that's something I ever do. I did EMDR so I could forget it.
Mm.
I mean, I've told it so many times, but I feel like I definitely shared with Holly probably that first time.
You did. And I'll never forget. Toby and I were like, this is a
How
nightmare.
foreboding.
I feel like we were everyone's nightmare in a
Mm.
lot of ways.
And we also probably thought it doesn't happen to us.
You never think it's going to happen to you.
Right.
I never thought it was going to happen to me.
Me either.
And then it did. So you never
No.
think,
And I kind of now hate it when people say, why me? And I'm like, why not you?
yeah.
Why not you?
Well, and that's something that's a victim thought versus coming from a place of strength, I feel like. Yeah. If you
Yeah.
sit in the why me, look, it is you. So
Bad
just
stuff
move
happens
on.
to all
you know?
The
people.
one in
Yeah.
a million.
No,
Yeah.
I
It
used to
also
think-
means that you're better than, or you're not supposed to have everything
Right.
terrible happen to you. Well,
Right.
then, so I am, and
Good
you
point.
are.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't.
This was my issue with the term blessed.
Hashtag blessed.
You are until something bad happens. Bad
Oh.
stuff happens to everybody.
No, I think you're blessed in spite of that. I think there were blessings inside this trauma. One of them is meeting the three of you.
Absolutely.
That is
Yeah.
a blessing. Now, I'm sure if someone said, look, do you want to hang out with Holly, Lacey, and Keira, or do you want your husband back? I'd be like, bye, bitches.
So many times though about how like our husbands probably would have all gotten along,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like we
yeah.
would have been couple friends.
But
Like,
we
I
wouldn't
want to
have
hear
known
like
each
what
other.
they're
Really
like.
would've.
Because I was married to someone totally opposite
From
my
you?
personality. Oh,
But
absolutely.
I feel like in a way, we are a little opposite from
Yeah.
you.
That's what I mean. So
right.
if I wonder how they
Oh,
would
you would have
map
been
out.
better friends with my husband. And
Well, you would have connected, Whitney, you would have connected more with Toby.
yeah. But
Like,
here's the
because
truth.
he
No,
was funny.
but
Like,
no, because I don't want to have to compete with someone for the attention in the room.
true.
So I
true,
would have been
true.
better friends
But
with
I
you.
do feel like I've become a little more extrovert, and he was the extrovert.
And that I think is another thing that we'll address in this podcast.
Yeah, how it
is
changed
how
you.
it changes you. And sometimes, as crazy as it sounds, for the better. It doesn't mean that you wouldn't have gotten there even if your husband had lived. But I do believe that it pushed us to be different.
Absolutely.
And that has given us a blessing.
I have a little
Hashtag
story,
blessed.
but I have a little story. I was
Okay.
just talking to my mother, and my dad has recently had foot surgery, so he's been kind of out of commission. And she was like, "Oh my God, I never realized like how much I relied on him getting up every morning and making the coffee."
Oh, right.
And now that like
Mm.
he's laid up, like I have to get up and get out of bed and go and make the coffee. And I said, "Gosh, Mom, that's one of the things that I really noticed after Frank died, because he always got up, made the coffee. And even when we were first dating and living in New York City, he would get up. We were in this tiny apartment. He would take the grinder into the bathroom and grind the
Aw.
beans so that it didn't wake
my
me.
God.
Oh
I
my
like him.
gosh. How long were y'all married again?
And then, well, we were
Does
just
he have a
crazy.
brother?
We were living in Sin in New York at that point.
Oh,
And he
okay.
was-
Y'all were
and I
still on the
said-
honeymoon phase.
I said, "I get it, Mom. Like, I miss just having someone make the coffee. It's
Yeah.
the little things that you miss."
Absolutely.
And we just had this moment. She was just like, "I'm so glad your dad's foot is better." And I'm like,
Because now I'm going to get
now,
my
and
coffee.
I'm like, you know what? Now I make the coffee. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
took that on.
I had to learn how to make the
I
coffee
got
too.
up and started making the coffee.
Well,
Because
mine sent me to
there was-
Starbucks, so he didn't make
That
my
person
coffee.
was gone.
He was a good guy, but that was not one
But
of
you
the
do
things he
get
did.
strength in suffering. And I think we all would agree that we feel like we could handle whatever comes our way at this point. Don't you think?
I think we have handled.
We have. But even moving forward, I just really, in the core of my being now, know that, you know what? Whatever happens next,
Got it.
it doesn't mean I won't be
It-
sad. It doesn't mean it won't hurt, but I will fucking handle it. And that is a gift.
And you've got
Hashtag
us.
blessed.
But you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have no choice. Although we say that.
Well, you actually do have a
yeah,
choice.
you do have a
we
choice.
just chose the one that's the healthier
exactly.
version. sort of. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Agreed. All right. So that kind of segues into what I was going to ask next, which is what is your mantra? I know early on after Hunter died, I kind of was searching, like I said in the last episode, for like, he's not going to die in vain. I will learn the lessons. Like, what are they? And one of the things that I said to myself constantly was, all is well, all will be well, because I have a very big faith in what happens next. So what about you guys?
Oh, come to me last.
Oh, I can jump in on that one.
Yes. Go,
I
Lacey.
received from my longtime best friend. We were roommates in Los Angeles for 5 years, and she's kind of like all business, shall we say. She's not much of a person who can tap into her emotional side, but she did send me something that really resonated, and I thought, I'm seeing a different side to her. She sent me something that was a butterfly, which has always been my thing, and it said, "Our journey of new beginnings will always honor and rejoice the past." So we've tried to bring Oliver into the picture and carry him with us, but also look forward to new adventures and not dwell on the past as well.
I love that.
And I love that
that.
she's shared that with me because, and I thought, wow, she's deeper than I thought. Sorry, Kathy.
Wow, she's not all business.
Sorry, Kathy.
Kathy's got something else going on besides business.
But did you have a mantra, Lacey? I thought you said you did.
That was it.
That was it.
That
you
was
have
it.
several though, I feel like, because you also
Less
say
deep, less
Mhm.
dark, less often. Yeah.
Say
I
that
think because when
again.
I met Keira, I remember her looking at me with she has these soulful eyes, but they just look super sad. And it was killing me. I think I saw you in the same way. And I was like, and I didn't know you at all, nor you, Keira. And I remember thinking, if the only thing I can depart, I don't know that I told you that day because that was probably the first week he had died, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember
I
our
don't think that
conversation.
we
I
could
remember
have,
seeing you, and
yeah.
I'm like, oh, she's beautiful.
Well, good.
Thank you for coming.
You keep
Come back
you keep
again.
thinking that.
I don't know what you said to me.
But I know I said
let's
it
get
to
drinks.
Keira. I said less deep, less dark, less often, because it stays with you. You learn to live with it. I hate when people say, when are you going to get over it? Or they will get over it. No, you don't get over it. You
Mm-mm.
get through it.
Don't ever
But-
say get over it.
Right. It's less deep, meaning if I go there and I have a moment, I allow myself to do it now. I create the space. And it usually sometimes is very wistful. It just comes in and breezes in for a few minutes and then it leaves and then I can move on through my day. And it's less dark. I used to spend thousands of hours in the bathtub because my son was so young. I didn't want him to see the true darkness of it all. And I'm sure you guys can relate to that because you had littles as well. You don't want them to see the real dark stuff, but you do want them to see that you can recover.
You're grieving.
Yeah,
you
you
want to
can grieve
show
and
them-
recover,
Yeah, exactly.
but the real dark stuff, and then less often. Like now it's less often, which I'm so grateful for because I thought back when we were going to do this podcast, I remember thinking, I don't think I could go back and do that again. It's exhausting. I still am not sure how we all did it. I don't.
It's just a perfect example of you just do. You just do.
Yeah. I looked at my sweet son's eyes. I think that's what did it, actually. If it weren't for him, I don't think I would have cared. I thought I brought him here. I've got to make sure he's going to be okay.
And that's also a part of Oliver. You know? So you want to honor that.
Ooh. I thought we weren't going to do this.
No, dude, we cry, we laugh,
Yeah.
we drink, we
I think I am
eat.
going to take a sip of
we
my
have hot
water.
flashes. We do it all here.
Wet your whistle.
Wet your whistle. All right, Holly, what about you?
Well, I don't have a definite mantra. I mean, maybe I have a lot of them, and I don't know. I think at my kids' age and getting them through, and getting myself through, I was like, I'm just going to get through the day. And people would ask me, what are you doing? What do you know, or whatever the question might be. And I'm like, I'm just getting through the day.
I think that's a good one.
It is, especially in the beginning, because anything else is so overwhelming and sad that all you can focus on is this moment, that day. Like, yeah, I'm just going to get through this
I
day.
still have days like that.
Well,
No
I was
shit.
going to say,
I
like,
literally be like, I have one task.
Mine is a
Yeah.
nap. I have a task. It's a nap.
It's like
And
maybe
that's
it's a
what-
workout, maybe it's Costco, maybe it's an email to like one of my kids'
Mhm.
teachers, and I'm like, okay, this is just because I'm still like Holly from those darker days. That was how I got by, and so I still have moments where I go back to that little handbook and I just say, just get this one thing done.
yeah.
Yep.
Or,
Well, and
or this
even like
three
even
things.
now, like my youngest is a junior, and everybody's talking college, and it's like, oh, well, what's he thinking? And I'm like, we're just trying to get through the day at high school.
Yeah.
We're gonna pass this semester, and we're gonna rock it. I mean,
I kind of feel like that
Right.
in that way. It is a blessing, is
Mm.
because it's you're
Touche.
staying in the moment instead of going so far ahead like everybody does.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready for my kid to get out of high school. He's going to go to college. He's going to work, and like I
Oh,
feel like
everything
it's
slows
cutter thing.
down.
everything is I'm more in the moment. Do you think you're
Mhm.
more in the moment, Holly,
Mhm.
I am.
because of it?
Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
I especially think in the beginning, people give you that like first 5-6 months
Yeah.
where they're like, "We're gonna leave you
Because
alone."
then people call up and they're like, "What are you doing?"
Like, I'm reading
What are you
another
doing with your
solo
life?
book.
What do you
What do
do
you
for
do
a
all
living?
day?
Oh yeah, what do you do all day?
What do you do all day?
That
Do
is
you
the
work?
worst.
You just got to
Because
live in
we're
the moment.
like, yeah, you have to live in the moment because otherwise you're like, If only I would have done this. I wish I would have said this. I wish this would have happened. Oh, now he's not going to be here for that. Now he's going to miss this. If you can just focus on the day.
Well, and I just want to say, Toby always said we would be on vacation and I'd be like, what are we going to do next? And he's like, can't you just live in the moment?
Isn't that interesting?
I love that.
He was trying to teach you even back then.
Yeah.
It also teaches you boundaries too. You like people all want to know what you're going to do next, or if you're going to be working, or if you're. I mean, I'm just like you said, just getting through.
If
the
you're going to
day.
move, if you're going to stay in Austin, what are you going to do? I mean, there's so much expectation that's still there when you're just saying, hey, look, I am now 50% capacity. I'm down a man, literally.
Yeah.
So one of my, after Toby died, like, I don't know, within a month, I don't know how soon after. But
Yeah,
it was
time kind of gets messed up.
One of my sister's friends asked if I was moving up to where
You're going
my
to move
mom-
home.
Dallas.
if I was moving
You're going to move home.
even though I hadn't lived at quote unquote home since before college,
Yeah.
if I was going to move home. And thankfully my sister was like, why would she move here? She lives in
Her life is
Austin and she
somewhere
has lots of friends.
Yeah.
So
No, I think that's a good message to give to other widows. It's like, you don't have to have it all figured out.
Nope.
You don't have to make any big decisions. Don't make any big decisions, honestly.
And
Just
I think
get through the day.
And also learn to be true to yourself. I mean, little quick funny story. I was at HEB yesterday. Love my HEB. And I'm in the checkout line, and the bag guy is so cute and young and fun. You can
Reminds
just tell
you
he
of
was.
your husband.
Well, he was just. There was something just
did he have a
very.
cute butt?
Well, I didn't check that out. I should have. I think what I liked about him is that he was just friendly and he was trying to engage a conversation with me. And I felt kind of sorry for him. I don't know if you guys do this, but as he's bagging the groceries, he said, how are you doing? I said, I'm just a little tired because it was like 5 o'clock and I'm trying to grab the groceries, get home, cook up the meal. And, my son's coming home from school late. And he said, well, maybe your husband will cook the dinner. And I said, well, he's 6 feet under. He's been dead for 11 years. I mean, it just flew out of my mouth. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, God, that poor guy. In that moment, he was like, oh, God. He goes, I'm so sorry. I said, no, I'm actually sorry. I didn't mean to put you ill at ease. I said, it's been a long time. I said, I have to kind of laugh at it now.
Yeah, but the truth is, and this is something that I say all the time, I have widow's Tourette's. Okay. I need still at 5 years in to tell people that I have a dead husband.
Yeah.
For
Even
some
at the
reason,
bar, Whitney,
even at the bar, even when people are flirting with me, I'll be like, well, my husband died. I don't, or the waiter will
She's
come up
working
and
every
be
angle.
like, or
Are
just
we calling that the W card?
Oh, we
What are
got
I
a
calling it?
throw
discount
it
at the stretch lab.
Does
place
that work?
Because our husband
yes.
died.
Oh,
It doesn't
listen,
work for me.
my
They usually
husband
spin and
was a
run.
budgeter, so
Yeah.
he wants me
Only
to
if
use that
Whitney's
card.
with you.
Because
It
I
does-
just throw it down. I'm like, well, I mean, what does the widow get? Like, what do you have a widow's discount? But I feel like for
There's
me,
never a widow's discount.
listen,
I mean,
I've gotten
there's-
one a couple of times.
Wow.
No, you have?
You got to teach me that trick.
And
Can't wait to hear about that.
I got flowers one time from a plumber.
Oh,
I was like,
girl.
this
we
isn't
don't want
really
to
a
know what you did
discount,
to
but
get
I'll
those
take the
flowers
flowers.
from the plumber.
She has to tell her mantra.
Oh yes.
Oh, no. Well, my
yeah, we-
mantra was stay alive.
Yes.
I was very, very injured and I was just trying to stay alive for a long time. It was just stay alive. And then it was get through every day. And then it was chill the fuck out for a while there. I, was over, I know Lacey had pointed this out when we first met. I was over stimulated for a long time, just trying to handle everything and in overdrive. And that's when I did the whole okay, I'm going to literally put one thing on a page for the day. Load of laundry.
I think I remember telling you to go take a nap.
I mean,
Because she was spinning like a top. She has 3 kids. And
I
she was going
was in
100 miles an
overdrive.
hour. And
Yeah.
you would just, I mean, you've been in hospital for how long? I call it jail because that's what it is.
Yeah, she doesn't even remember
No.
how long.
And you
Months.
were going like 100. You were doing more than I was doing, and
Yeah.
I was taking a nap. So I thought maybe.
I really had to slow it down. I really had to clip expectations. I used to be like, before the car accident, I just had a very full life. I had high expectations from my family, my kids, myself. You know, I had a lot of irons in the fire, and just winnowing it down to just the basics was very humbling. And still trying to get used to it. I think COVID helped a lot of us with a lot of that. That was kind of a nice moment for me, to be honest. Like, oh, I get to slow down again. I remember this. This is good. This feels good. This is productive to just kind of cut things out. And
Yeah, you don't have to be everything to everyone. You have to put yourself on the list. And also, none of it matters. I mean, if you're in a depression and you say that, then that can be harmful. But if you are living life present and just day to day, it's like most of the stuff that we're trying to get done and check off the list, it doesn't even matter. And guess what? All of your plans, and then life comes crashing in, which is what we all know. I
wish
tons
I could
of
stay
plans.
in that though. I haven't stayed. It's been over 11 years, so I thought when that happened, I'd be able to take that with me all the time. But you forget.
You do.
So sometimes I get caught up in the minutia. And
Yeah.
I thought, of all people, you shouldn't, because you know it doesn't matter.
But life comes creeping back in. That's why I was saying I was healthier in the first year or two of Hunter's death versus now, because I was more connected to the trauma in a way, you know, and so I was very aware of, you know what? I don't even care. Like, that doesn't even matter. So anyway.
And I felt like I had permission, which maybe you did too in the beginning. I had permission for a long
definitely.
time because I was in and out of surgeries, and I was just trying to get well, and I was trying to get my daughter well, who was also injured. And I had a lot of, I mean, I was able to just check out, and people they weren't looking for the thank you note or the response.
Oh, right.
Oh, don't
or
get
the
me started
follow-up.
on thank you
Start on the
notes.
thank you
That's
notes.
a
So-
whole episode.
I got
in and
anyone
of
My
itself.
mom-
thank you notes.
My mom wrote all the thank you notes.
My mother
Okay.
wanted me to do
Okay.
them.
Oh, no.
I wrote
I just
two.
want to say thank you to everybody that did everything for me, because I did not.
I
guess
definitely
what?
would like to
you, and
thank
I'm very,
everyone
very
that
sorry.
was a part of my trauma, because I was
And by
on
the way,
drugs.
no one fucking cares about the thank you note.
I had intentions.
Well, if they do, they're not a friend of mine.
Exactly. Then you don't deserve a thank you note if
Exactly.
you actually want one.
We had them all printed up, but I wrote two of them, and I said, "Here, you do them," because
Yeah.
yeah,
I
but that was a
mean,
big fight. I think
I
it's
would
a
have had
Southern
to
way.
write,
Some of
like,
you that are
so
Southerners,
many-
it's a Southern
thank
way.
you
You're supposed to
notes.
write thank you notes
It
and
is.
be gracious. And I thought, my husband just died at the age of 38, suddenly and unexpectedly. If
don't
a
need to
friend
write
of
a
mine
thank you
expects a thank you note, they're not a friend of mine.
Right.
Bye.
Exactly.
That is
I
one good
wholeheartedly
thi-
agree.
Bye.
And I think people need to embrace that in society. It's like the last thing you want to be doing when you are going through trauma is trying to remember who did what, when,
brought
where.
the-
Well, and whoever tells
The
you that
King's
you need to
Ranch
write a thank
casserole.
you note, tell them no.
I do. I say, do not write me a thank you note.
I found myself thanking people when the opportunity arose. Like, if I saw them, if there was a moment where I could just say, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
remember you were there for Karis, or you were there for me, or you helped
That
plan.
means more than a
But
note.
there wasn't any, I mean, in my circumstance, it was just all physical therapy and surgery. So there wasn't any writing anything.
I'm going to
But-
give you permission. None of you has to write me a thank you note.
You know
ever.
what? I'm going to give permission to everyone that's
again.
listening. The thank
Just
you
give
notes.
with a full
Yeah.
heart.
If
Bye.
you get nothing else out of this podcast,
I don't care if you're a Southerner or from the North, the
Now,
West.
you
no
might,
thank you notes.
Just
know,
give
for
to
a
give.
wedding
Not-
gift, you
Holly's
might want to
not
write a
liking
thank
it.
you note.
okay.
But
If you're in trauma, if
Help
something
to help.
horrible happened to you and
Yeah.
you're on a meal
don't
train,
write a thank you note.
you don't need to write a
No.
fucking thank you note.
If you want to help, if you don't, fine, but don't be helping for the thank you. 'Cause
Exactly.
Exactly.
that's Not
Exactly.
the point.
I think that's a perfect way to end this
Yeah.
episode
I
too.
think so too.
Don't be helping.
You're
going
going to get to know us better over the next few episodes. We are going to start sharing our individual stories. In the meantime, if you want to go to Instagram and follow us on @EveryWidowThing for updates and inspiring content, we would love for you to do that. Drop us a DM if you have questions or you have a certain topic that you would like for us to discuss on the next podcast. We would love to be there for you. That's the whole purpose here. We thank you so much and strive and thrive.
That's
I love it.
right.
Thrive and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.